Christmas special 2014. I thought I'd do one of these because a lot of other moto vloggers do a bit of a Christmas special around this time of the year. So here we go, it's a bit of a posy shot. Took the bike out for a ride today. It's Christmas Eve actually when I recorded this, so hopefully it gets up online on Christmas Day. I had a bit of a noise when I started up and I couldn't work out what it was, but it was actually the lock on the fuel cap on my tank, and it seems to resonate quite a bit when the bike first started. I thought maybe it's something to do with the engine, and when the engine gets hotter it kind of expands and the noise goes away, but I found out today it was actually just a lock on the cap, so I might stick some Vaseline on that to stop that from vibrating. So just going on a bit of a ride here. Later on this ride I actually popped into Hampton's motorcycle shop in Hornby, and they have two BMW R NineTs there. So it's the first time I've actually seen one in the flesh. Pretty exciting bike. Been watching all the video blogs, you know, pulling a bit of a face. I'm sure everyone does that when they're riding. Yeah, so the R9T, so we get to see that a bit later on in the video. Awesome bike. So I'm going to take you for a bit of a tour around the city that I live in, which is Christchurch, New Zealand. You may have heard of the city in the news a couple of years ago. We had quite a few earthquakes, devastating earthquakes, quite a few casualties, and a lot of people lost their homes, as well as a lot of businesses. And our CBD was pretty much red zone for a couple of years, where you couldn't actually get into the city centre itself, as it was closed to the public. So 4 years on, a lot of it's reopened. A lot of buildings have been demolished, thousands of buildings in fact. And a few buildings are still standing, and they're going to do some retrofitting and kind of bring them up to code and turn them into new buildings. But we're getting already at the end of 2014, the rebuild here in the city is sort of getting to full speed, and it's predicted next year is going to be when that's going to be reaching its peak. So here is Edgware Road, I believe, and Cranford Street. There's a nice little curry takeaway there called Corianders. Sort of end up going there once a week, addicted to their curries. So here we're getting closer to the city itself. As you see, there's less cars. It's quite funny. Christchurch is a bit of a donut. It's empty in the middle, but quite busy on the outsides. So this is Christmas Eve. Hardly any cars around because there's not many shops here in the city centre at all that are open. There's new businesses popping here. We're just going past some new buildings, and there's one here on your right as well. That's a new building. But as we get closer into the city, you'll see quite a lot of car park spaces, which were buildings. So gravelly car park areas. That's where buildings once stood. So this is going past the town hall, which is closed, and going up this bridge, which is only just recently opened. So here's this little space, gravelly, big spaces to the left. That's where quite a large building was, and there's still some large buildings standing. These are all pre-earthquake buildings. So this blue one here has been empty since the quake. In fact, the emergency stairwell catinaed and fell down, and people were left stranded on each floor and couldn't get down at all. No power, no staircase, because the building moved so much that the stairwell kind of came off its foundations, and you can see a bit of water there. It's all kind of flooded at the bottom. So they had to break windows and abseil down and get ropes to get people out, and some cherry picker type fire engines to get. So there you go, you can see all the wood there. That's where they had to smash the windows and get out. So these were all big buildings around here, but being redeveloped, so they've kind of been doing a lot of planning. It's taken years to do planning to get it right, to get kind of precincts in the city for different things. Like this will be the entertainment and arts precinct that we're in at the moment, so they're going to build kind of town halls and lecture theatres and all that kind of stuff. So here we're coming into the city centre itself. This is the day before Christmas. No one is around. There's just no shops here. So this is the cathedral. The cathedral tower fell down, and the press building was right here. That's no longer there. These are cool little sheep that are traffic cones. They're using them. I think they're designed in Europe, and they kind of represent little sheep, and they're kind of being quite popular in the city, and people have actually wanted to buy them personally for their own gardens and stuff. So all these buildings here are empty, vacant. This is year 4. This was quite a tall building, so they've brought it right down, and I think they're going to retrofit it, which seems to be quite popular. The building in the background is a new building going up, and you can see it's got kind of diagonal bits of metal, and that's kind of earthquake strengthening, so when you've got the shaking left to right, it kind of keeps the building rigid. So this is a vacant building here. So this is the city centre the day before Christmas. No rush here whatsoever. Mind you, however, we're heading towards Cashel Mall, which is where a lot of the shops that have reopened are, so it gets a bit busy here. And they've used containers as temporary shops. I don't have this in this video, but that's been great for a lot of businesses that wanted to reopen and try and energise the city again, because it's really hard to kickstart a city when there's nothing there. So it's going to be a good 10-20 years till the city's back on its feet. Here there's more vacant land, and they're building a big bus exchange. It's going to look like an armadillo with copper all over it, I guess, and some diggers on a mound of dirt, which no doubt's probably got asbestos in it and all sorts. And there's some containers here, kind of holding up some buildings just in case they fall down. And there's a new building here on the right too. That's new. So more containers in the distance. They're kind of keeping the face of old buildings, and I guess they'll build the new buildings behind it and bring it up to code and strengthen it. So that's kind of holding the face of a building. So it kind of keeps the character of an old town, or a town with some history. Otherwise it's just going to be all tilt slab concrete buildings everywhere. So this is High Street, great little street. As you can see, some tram tracks. They're actually in the process of putting them in before the quake and never got to finish it for the Rugby World Cup. So this is Alice and C1 or C4, I never know which one it is, and it's a little coffee shop and a really good boutique sort of video shop that sells all your sort of cult TV, or rents cult TV and cult films and stuff. It's quite unique here in Christchurch. So I'm just popping a video back, and then I'm going to hop back on the bike again. I feel like I've been talking about a million miles per hour so far. There's lots to fit in this little Christmas special. As you can see over the fence, there's a vacant building back there, and this building here, they're also trying to save the face of the building. They're about to start a kind of a new building with a little laneways similar to the ones in Melbourne. Nice Porsche GT3 go past there. I'll catch up with that in a sec. So this is down further in High Street. Been a bit of arson, set fire to buildings that have been vacant. A lot of photographers have been getting in there and taking some really awesome photography of buildings just derelict. It's like as if you've been in a zombie apocalypse, you know, man has disappeared and weeds are growing up everywhere. So I'm just coming up here, catching up with this Porsche. It's a GT3, I think, and it's got the roll cage built into it as well, which I guess is for its racing kind of track day stuff. Theatre here over there, and the seats all exposed. It's an old picture theatre or something. So I couldn't resist just to do a bit of a hoon here. So of course I had to follow the Porsche. I'll let you hear the sounds. So this is a temporary black building to the left, kind of an IT hub for IT sort of businesses, and here we go. Couldn't resist. He's all over the lines though, might have a flash car. And of course, having a flash car, I don't think he's that great at driving, as he's sort of right over the pedestrian crossing there. So yep, Christchurch, you know, we use the term munted here. A lot of people call their houses munted and buildings munted and all that, and it's okay to say that in Christchurch. So, you know, a lot of people were affected by this earthquake. I myself, positive note, actually met my partner, my wife, about 2 weeks beforehand and rescued her from a building on the very first quake and got onto the TV and news and all sorts of exciting stuff. So that kind of accelerated our relationship, and now we've got a little boy who's almost 3 years old. So there's some positives out of the quake as well. There's a bike that passes here. I've seen him a couple of times. I'm not too sure what bike it is, but he's got some pretty cool exhausts on it. So we're going to head south out of Christchurch here and pop onto the motorway. It's well, in the UK we'll probably call it an A road rather than a motorway. It's a new motorway that's popped up because a lot of subdivisions in the east of the city, a lot of the areas along the river were deemed unsafe to have houses ever again. So the government bought out land, and people got compensated for that. Some people made lots of money, some people lost a lot of money as well. So for a lot of those people, they've moved south and to the outskirts of the city where they've got a lot of new subdivisions and so forth. So the whole city itself has changed heaps over the years, over the last 4 years. So this is on the motorway itself. I find a lot of Kiwis don't know quite how to use the lanes and often stay in the fast lane when they should pull over to the left, to the slower lane. But you know, getting used to motorways. They've only just had roundabouts for the last 30 years. So we're heading to a little section that my wife and I are quite keen to build on. So sort of sussed it out as we're renting at the moment and need to get into our first home. So there's this little area here, one of these new subdivisions that's been built to house a lot of the people that moved. And we're kind of thinking of moving around here, and there's a house that we're quite keen to get. The problem is we can't quite afford a house with a double garage, so I don't know how that's going to go with fitting the car and the bike in there, but I'm sure we'll work it out. So it's this little section here in this driveway, but the little house, there's a picture of it. So I do commute on the bike or bicycle. I've got a bicycle and a motorbike, swap between them both, but kind of spend most of my working life commuting on bikes and motorbikes and Vespers and stuff. So I do miss having radio and creature comforts. Here we go, we're going to pull into, I think it's Hampton Motorcycles, and they got like a load of BMWs here, and of course, as I mentioned before, the BMW R NineT, which is kind of a great grandson of the bike that I'm riding, the BMW R80. Obviously not with the bikini fairing. So this is it here. I couldn't believe it when I walked in. And of course there's a whole lot of guys doing the same thing, salivating over this bike, so we were all chatting about it, and so I kind of slowed this movie down a bit because I would get maximum viewing pleasure for you guys. So this one here has had a bit done to it. The back seat's been taken off, and the sort of the frame that holds up the pillion's been taken out to make it lighter, and they've put the little cover on the back and a gel seat. And it's been sold, so the guy's got it tricked out a bit, and there's a few nuts and bolts that are different from the spec, and he's got a really cool number plate, as in BMW 9T. So here in New Zealand, less population, you've got a greater sort of chance of getting a decent personalised plate, and you don't have to spend the earth as you do in other countries that have got huge populations like Europe and England. I'm thinking of more so the United Kingdom and America. So I do like this bike. There's just 2 or 3 things I don't like. I don't like where the mudguard joins the axle. Looks like squeegee holders, sort of squeegees for the shower, but that's alright. And also the air intake for the airbox. There's some sort of air scoops on one side, but you know, it is in keeping with the old design and bringing some new sort of features and some real nice engineered sort of brushed aluminium. There's the sold sticker. There was another bike by the window which didn't have anything done to it, and that was also sold as well. So I guess they're selling like hotcakes, and I guess they're retailing around 25,000 New Zealand dollars here, and quite hard to get in. So this area here, this is Bexley, which was all houses, and now a lot of the houses have been demolished and made into a green area. Yeah, so it's quite sad. My family had a house here, so that's been demolished now and unrecognisable. So took some GPS references, because one day this would just be one huge park with sort of square lined gardens, obviously where the boundaries were, massive potholes too. So yeah, so just down this road here, this was actually where my mum had a house, and this whole street was flooded with liquefaction, which is the sort of the silt and the liquid that gets squeezed up from the surface after all the shaking, the ground shaking. So I couldn't quite work out where her house was, but I think it was here somewhere. But there's still 1 or 2 people living in these red zones. It was all bought out by the government, but some people were uninsured, and it was a case of being insured and a half payout by the government or something like that. So there's the old person still living here, and a lot of crime, people nicking bits off the houses like the old water boilers and copper pipes from this and that. So kind of hard for those people who are still here, who unfortunately were uninsured. So it does pay to be insured, you know, because shit does happen. So now we're kind of coming to a roundabout and coming to the end of this ride. You know, thanks for all those guys who subscribe, or people who are subscribing and liking my videos. I really appreciate it. And feel free to comment as well. And have a wonderful Christmas and a New Year for 2015. You know, cheers.